Kia rana.
Kia rana, me
Kia rana, Mr. Speaker. Meitaki. I've been listening. Do you realise this is my 5th month in the House, and I've been listening to debates across the House on the drivers of inequality in our society, and the commentary on causes and measures of child poverty, for example. Is it about choice? Is it poor decision making? Or is it a lack of education? Possibly. A young mother of a 1-year-old boy came into my electorate office a few weeks ago. Having found a 2-bedroom flat, she paid a week's rent to hold it as a deposit and was seeking support from work and income to pay the bond to move in. Her current housing situation was really unsafe. She, along with her young son, were in a boarding house. The bedroom that they rented didn't have a lock on the door. Their landlord was starting to act inappropriately towards her, and she was feeling unsafe. WINS were unable to support her with her bond, so she was in a bit of a predicament. She could either try and find other people to help her put the bond up, or she could remain unsafe and lose all the money that she'd already paid. We regularly have families turning up desperate for accommodation and have developed a pathway with local community housing providers and others to triage and support the most at risk and in need, much as like the case I describe above. We regularly, through the colder months, have requests for support for power bills, sometimes in excess of $300. Our local blanket bank has reported this week that they've run out of blankets, and winter hasn't even started yet. Our food banks report an increase in the number of people accessing them on a regular basis. I read a report recently in context with the social sector trials discussing the hospital admissions for cellulitis, pneumonia and other respiratory conditions, conditions of overcrowding, poorly heated, damp homes. The Social Services Committee recently heard from the sexual violence prevention sector about the pressure that they are under to deliver services to more for less. Notifications to Child, Youth and Family have increased exponentially, and the community sector are asked to plug the gap that the statutory agency can no longer manage. And back in the electorate office, we have more looking for accommodation, unable to either find it or, when they do, to afford to get into it or to afford to keep it. The Minister of Education believes the way out of poverty is through education. And while I don't entirely disagree with that statement, I believe that education, particularly the level of education of our mothers, is a key factor of success for our children. I have a problem with this statement that is twofold. It fails to recognise and deal with the need that exists today. These fine words won't feed our kids or house them in decent, warm, dry homes or provide for their health or help them to thrive. Not the kids that are poor, hungry and homeless. The other problem that I have with this statement is that it flies in the face of the exemplary results that Phillipstown School has achieved with its Māori and Pacific children. On a recent visit there, I was really impressed that what the school had been doing with the achievements of these children and what they had made based against the national standards targets. Māori and Pacific kids bettering their targets under national standards, and yet the decision to merge them with Woolston School goes ahead. I believe our families are being put in an impossible situation where, based on the resources they have, there is no choice. It isn't bad decision making, there is no decision to be made. Our families don't want handouts, they want a government that provides jobs that will pay them enough to care for their children. That's when they can have a choice. Not a low-waged economy that means 60 to 80-hour working weeks to provide the basics and sometimes not providing that. They want a government that recognises families build communities, and that occurs when you put down roots, build relationships and actively engage in community life, not constantly on the move to find work, cheaper and sometimes safer places to live, in homes that are healthy and warm, not a government that refuses to intervene to house its people. They want a government that will make sure that all people pay their fair share and that it's distributed with some equity across the spectrum of need. They want a government that recognises how valuable the mother-child bond is in future success.
The time for this debate has expired.